to Success Superstars, episode number 203, your place for the blueprint of success for peak performers just like you. And my special guest, Chris Sears from the Chris Sears Group. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you, Mark.
Hey, glad to have you on, man. And congratulations on all your success with JPAR and everything going on in your business.
Thank you very much. And to you as well.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about, give us a little history. What brought you to where you are today?
Oh, goodness. So the very first thing I'll tell you is, I've been doing this 25 years and my partner and my wife has been doing it 21. And the two of us started out as agents, and as each of us grew, we grew teams, and then I ran brokerages, and I really saw the brokerage model shifting over the past 10 years or so. And there's all these people that are trying to circumvent agents and go after the consumer directly. And it seemed like the agent business was under attack. And so I really started trying to figure out how to give the agents the tools necessary to not only keep up, but to thrive in the shift of our industry. And when I looked around, I pretty much knew all of the models and really tried to dive into what each of their visions were and their leadership's visions were over time. And I didn't really see anything that was just phenomenal for a real estate agent. I saw stuff that was good for brokerages, good for owners, good for the parent company, but nothing that was really good to empower a real estate agent. And then I saw JPAR. And so Jen and I talked a lot about what it would look like to be a part of an organization that empowered agents the way JPAR was doing. And we were just blown away. Oh. And so we jumped on and 2 years ago, basically started out here in Houston, brought JPAR from there to where it is today in Houston, and just am loving it right now. So that's what brings us here.
Well, and it all starts with really empowering the agent. And when the agent's empowered, everything else flows, right?
Absolutely. Because the agent is a frontline servant to the consumer.
Right.
And, if anybody has a problem with that word servant, then they've got a problem, misalignment somewhere, because that's the most valuable place you can be, is serving others. So when they're the frontline servant to the consumer, they're the frontline leader that's going to lead that consumer through a very tough transaction, a tough position in their life, according to the consumer. And we need to empower them to do that well. And when we do, we're all succeeding.
Well, and depending on how you look at it, there's 120 steps from contract to close, and navigating that is amazing. But I'm glad you used the word servant, because when I think of Chris Sears, I think of servant leader. And you said frontline servant. And so servant leadership must be part of your culture, part of who you are. Tell us about that.
Well, it's everything. I mean, so when you're able to serve others well in the moment, what you're really doing is you're being somebody who is a bridge between the problem and the solution. You're being somebody who is guiding somebody down a path of solution orientation. And when you do that, you create gratitude in the lives of others. And gratitude is a motivator to bring reciprocity back to that person who's serving. And so we talk all the time about value in the marketplace, right? If we apply it to business, we can use terms. You don't hear a whole ton about being a servant in business, but you hear a whole ton about bringing value to the marketplace, or value to the consumer, or being a valuable company, or what is your value? What is your market value? This, that, or the other. Well, value and servitude are connected wholly, completely, because what somebody values in any given moment, they're willing to pay for. And when you come along and you're willing to serve them in the very areas that they value the most in any given moment, then you can put yourself in the position of being the highest paid person in their life. And so a lot of times I focus on this concept of servant leadership in training our agents to articulate their value proposition to the consumer and differentiate themselves from the competition. A lot of times value has become a throwaway kind of phrase.
Right.
You know, I want to be valuable in the marketplace. Well, that's kind of a throwaway thing, like saying, how are you? People don't really want to hear how you are. They're just saying, how are you? But when you flip the script and you really start to understand that it's not just a phrase, that there's meaning behind it, and that you get to give life to that meaning, now you really start to put teeth to that value. And so that's huge for us. If we can learn to utilize the tools necessary to be as valuable as possible by alleviating the pain points for our clients, now we're talking what true servant leadership is all about. And so we have to do that by putting ourselves aside in the moment and focusing on what is going on in their world that is causing them a little bit of pain or a lot of pain, and bring them through that solution.
I love it. That's so insightful. Chris, I'd like to ask you about, we've been doing this 25, 30 years, and in the last 25, 30 years, I don't know that I've ever seen a market like we've experienced over the last 24 months, a global pandemic, the world turned upside down. Yet you and JPAR Real Estate have continued to thrive and grow. How did that happen? Did that happen by accident? Did that happen by design? Was that servant leadership? And how did you coach your agents through the last 24 months?
No, that's a great question. So we have grown by, I think, our brokerage over the last 24 months. Well, I mean, talk about infinite growth, right? I guess almost. But fastest growing brokerage in Houston for several of those months, month over month, year over year. And I think the way that happened, well, I would be remiss if I didn't give credit where credit's due first and foremost, but you have to listen and meet needs as a leader. Servant leadership is about being in the trenches together. It's not about being a leader as much as it is about being a servant. And one thing that I know all of us have needed over the past 24 months is connection. And our business is all about connection. Our business is all about relationships. And when we can nurture those relationships at a very high level and stay engaged in spite of the forces that are pulling us apart, so to speak, whether it be isolation from a pandemic or it be divisiveness or whatever it might be, when we can encourage one another and lift one another up and build channels to connect, then we're going to thrive from it. And there's so many people, I think, what I've seen in our market, and it's probably in yours and probably across the United States, we have this divide that's happening because of what's happened over the past 24 months in our industry, where you have brokerages and agents who have just not succeeded. They've kind of had this stagnant or negative growth. And then you have others who have just started to skyrocket. And what I believe that's doing, it's leading to a more rapid consolidation in the industry.
Right.
And so fast forwarding everything, it's about staying engaged and providing an environment where your people can stay engaged with one another and with their clients, including uncovering inventory, et cetera, et cetera. You don't stop just because there are roadblocks in your path. We have great technology. We have all this stuff that can keep us connected regardless. I mean, look at you and I. We're talking here on Zoom.
Right.
This has been a phenomenal tool. So really, I would attribute our growth to doing for our agents exactly what we want them to do for the consumer, and that's serve them and make sure they have connection and they can tap in. I mean, I do coffee with Chris every Monday through Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. Been doing that since March 15th,
Right.
I believe, of 2020. 2 days before really our state got shut down. And it came out of a necessity to stay connected.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a huge contributing factor to what your growth has been, as well as what our growth has been. We stay engaged and we keep going because this is what we do,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I think what I heard you say, to say it maybe another way, is you control what you can control. You control the controllables. And the rest is like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to be resourceful? How am I going to serve? How am I going to continue to solve problems for a profit? That's basically what I heard you say, is be resourceful.
That's it. You have to be. Just a reminder to everybody that may be listening to this, and you guys probably already know this, but I think it's paramount. What happens to you is not the equation. Your circumstance is not the equation. It's what you do with your circumstance that equals the outcome.
Oh.
And so you can't leave one or the other. Both contribute to the outcome. And so even if you throw your hands up and you try and remove your response to a circumstance from the equation, you can't, because you exist.
Right.
So throwing your hands up is the response that equals the outcome. So no matter what, how we respond to what comes at us is everything, is what produces the outcome.
Well, speaking of that, and speaking of outcomes, as we head into 2022, some of the leading indicators say, we're going to continue to have a shortage of inventory for sale, things like that. How are you coaching your agents and your team to continue to thrive in the new year?
Yeah, so that shortage of inventory thing is huge. A couple of approaches that we've decided to take in Houston is we've created a certification course for our agents here that certifies them on how to find and identify and represent large single-family flip buyers. So investment property, right? That's a good way to uncover inventory, especially with all the stuff going on with forbearance coming to fruition and the results of forbearance coming to light. That's going to be one good place to uncover inventory. Another place that we've gotten them focused on, we've created a certification course for builders as well. New construction has begun to really ramp up, right? And so at least new start permitting and development plans are, I think, you're going to see them catch up with demand over the next 12 to 18 months. At least that's the thing I'm hearing. And so we want to ride that wave of catching up with the demand, right? It's about churn in the marketplace. That's where we get paid. And so capitalizing on new sticks on the ground, new lots being taken down by builders, and being that preferred provider for them to go out into the marketplace is one thing I think all agents should focus on in 2022. It's huge inventory right there.
I would agree. Well, as we kind of wrap up this episode, we have 40 amazing entrepreneurial leaders like you across the JPAR Nation and 26 states. What's it like to be part of a powerful group of influential industry leaders like yourself?
It's phenomenal. So the collaboration that is here, the masterminding that gets created, and the sharing of best practices across JPAR Nation is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
What I think is so amazing is what's being built here by everybody that's being a part of it and benefiting from it is a solid, sustainable, long-term business model that rewards those who contribute to it. And we have semblances of something like that across the industry, but nothing really that is doing that very thing. And so this isn't, hey, we're going to give you some shares here or there or the other. This is, hey, you want to contribute? You're an entrepreneur. You're going to get back. I think the model that we have here is really just taking off and is just phenomenal. So I'm absolutely phenomenally blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, and we're blessed as well. And so you can check us out at jpar.com, or if you're an associate looking for a new home, jparready.com. Head over to jparready.com and check out any of our amazing independently owned and operated franchisees all across the JPAR nation. Well, Chris, any last words of wisdom as we wrap up this episode?
Create gratitude everywhere you go. That's how you bring value to the marketplace.
There you go. I love it. That's the quote of the episode. Well, that's a wrap for this time together. Until we see you again, may your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears.